Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Lead with Giants TV. Today I have John DeGilius. He's the author of The Customer Service Revolution. He's been around. He is one of those customer service world-class speakers, consultants, experienced leader that I'm delighted to have him on the show. I've been trying to talk to him for a while, but finally this book just kind of topped it all for me, and I said, got to talk to this guy. So welcome, John.
Thank you, Tal. It's great to be here, and I've been waiting for you to call me.
Yes, so we'll spend more time on the phone on different things because the audience may not know, but I'm into that journey of looking to be a John DeGilius one day on my own. So that's great inspiration. And of course, the leader of Lead with Giants with us, the founder of Lead with Giants, Dan Forbes. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Tal. Great to be with you today. I thought you wanted to be me. I've been demoted. So
yeah, I guess we won't have Dan on our next show. Just kidding.
Hi, John. Great to meet you today, Tal. Always great to be with you, and I am joining the hangout from Austin, Texas.
Great, and John, you are in Cleveland, Ohio. He's not going to be able to show us on this just angle, but he's got some snow outside his windows right there, right?
Yeah, and if you're watching this someday in the future, it is yeah, we got a little snow this morning. So.
All right. Well, we'll try to keep everybody warm with some customer service hangout.
There we go.
You know, that's how we do it. So, John, thank you so much. And for those of you who don't know John, shame on you. I just want to tell you that he is a consultant and speaker, world-class customer service, working with brands such as the Ritz-Carlton, Lexus, Nordstrom, Starbucks, to name a few, Cheesecake Factory, some of those guys. So he knows what he's doing, okay? So, John, tell us about, I know this is the recent book is the Customer Service Revolution, but now what is a customer service revolution?
You know, we actually have a definition for it. It's a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what employees and customers experience. And ultimately, it makes your company the brand that customers can't live without, and it makes price irrelevant.
So this is you know, for those of us who haven't got the book, it has some really neat stuff on it. But why do you think we need a customer revolution? Why now? Why not earlier? Why is it the timing right now is so important for many businesses, and to understand how service is a competitive advantage out there? But why is it so important now more than any other time?
Well, you know, to be honest, you know, I'm not sure it is more important now. I think we've always needed it.
Mm-hmm.
But what's happened is now from the recession of 2008, 9, 10, that was the first thing that when everyone started, you know, spiraling, they took note as the companies that weren't spiraling and not only surviving but were thriving were the companies that were, you know, at the top 10% of their customer satisfaction in their industries. So that was the first thing. It made people take note that, you know, the strongest asset you have in any economy is customer loyalty. The second thing that has really helped all businesses, especially my business, is social media. Right, so you know, social media is already an old paradigm, and it's still in diapers. You know, it's only, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old. But 10, 15, 20 years ago, if I didn't like your experience, yeah, I would go tell people. You know, but how many people could I tell? And then I'd forget about it, and, you know, whatever. I may not come back, and it really didn't have a profound impact. But now we know, you know, are the best marketing is your customer experience. And also the worst marketing today is your customer experience. And companies with lousy customer experience can no longer hide, right? Hence, go, you know, pull up anything on Spirit Airlines, Comcast, you know, and the slew of others, Lululemon, that, you know, they're debacles. Go on Yelp, and, you know, you can see what people talk about. You know, so if I'm unhappy with what you're doing, how you handled it, you know, anyone have a megaphone, and what used to be the great source of advertising was word of mouth. Today it's word of mouse.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tal, I have an example of that. just recently, I was having an issue with one of my credit card companies, and I would call online. I would call and make a telephone call to speak to someone, and the wait times were 15 minutes. And I had to do this multiple times over 3 weeks and was not getting any resolution whatsoever to the issue. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go on Twitter. So I went on Twitter and I put out a tweet regarding the credit card company and wanting to get some resolution and some help. And within 15 minutes, I had someone calling me. I asked for my phone number by direct message, and then someone calling me, and we got the issue resolved right away. And of course, then I put out another tweet thanking them for their quick response. So definitely, social media is changing the way customer service is done, and I think I'm going to quit trying to call my cable company when I need help or somewhere else. I'm going to go on Twitter. I'm going to go on social media first, and I pretty much guarantee you I'm going to get a faster response from companies that really get it today.
Well, but the sad thing about that, Dan, which is it's such a great example, they're ignoring one channel and paying another, right? And where they need to be world class in both channels. But great example to that.
So, John, I wanted to talk to you about that because you brought in social media. Customer service has become, the hip and sexy right now. Companies want to be like Zappos. They want to be like the Richard Branson of the world, Ritz-Carlton, Amazon. And I think that part of it, and correct me if you see it the same way, is the impact of social media. I mean, you see for example, Richard Branson or a company like Apple or some of those guys, they have social media presence and it helps their brands. So companies, there may be smaller companies, want to be, hey, we want that presence. We want to be known for that customer service company. John, what do you think about that? Because social media obviously is changing a lot of the landscape, and it's disappointing to know that they're losing one channel, as we were just referring to, because that's really the foundation of customer service. I can't imagine, I work in a hotel, one of the Marriott properties in Dallas, I can't imagine that someone will not get great service over the phone. But yet, some companies have that social media presence and it just amplifies their service. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, I just spoke at the social media marketing world and really felt like, I didn't know if I had much to bring them. These are people who manage their social media channels. Mm-hmm. But, I actually did, and it was basically this. The same, for you to be world-class face-to-face, at a brick and mortar, over the phone or through via channel like Dan had, doesn't change. Right, but we got to make sure that we're not really good at one area and really bad at another. But if you take social media, so let's say you were in a restaurant and you were upset, and maybe you started getting loud, right? How would we handle that? If I'm the manager, I'd apologize. I'd speak quiet to you. I'd ask if you'd like to come over here. I'd try to get you out of the crowd. And so you're not making a disturbance, right? Same thing in social media. If someone's disparaging you, right, let's apologize. Let's get them offline, like they did with Dan, and take care of the call offline so it's not a back and forth and I'm being defensive and that. But yeah, I mean, the other thing that customer service is not just warm and fuzzy. And I just wrote an article last week, and that was the title. There's so many irrefutable reports, irrefutable evidence that regardless of the industry you're in, B2B, B2C, manufacturing, whatever, the top 10% customer satisfaction companies in all industries have higher comp sales from year to year, have higher referrals. Customers are less price sensitive. All those things, more, all that. But the one thing that really jumped out at me is they have higher employee morale and lower employee churn. I mean, that right there is worth it. So, listen, if you could be less affected by third-party things that are out of our control, right? Recessions, presidential year, who's running for office, housing market collapse, Wall Street collapsing. We can't control any of that, but it has shown proof that the customer service leaders are dramatically less affected by those third-party things.
I really like the fact that you kind of got it, making this transition to leadership. What I've been noticing, I've been in almost 20 years in the business, is that now there's more emphasis on internal customer. Like, so the equation of putting the customer on the top of the pyramid, now we're going to put the employees on the top, because if our employees are happy, taken care of, motivated, trained, developed, then we can provide that world-class customer service. Do you feel the same way?
Your customers will never be any happier than your employees, and that's what we all have to keep on pounding into our mindset. Like, you know, if our employees, you know, on the average are, you know, not engaged, our customers won't be. And you're right, it has to start internal. What gets experienced, and this might be a Shep Hyken quote, what gets experienced on the inside will get experienced on the outside.
Oh, it's very true, and I do want to kind of credit your, I think it was Nicole, that communicated with me back and forth on emails and booking you for the show. And every time, she was just the superb customer service oriented. She doesn't know me from Adam, but she was just treating me like a customer. So that is an example of how, no matter who you're interacting with, but I know from kind of getting to know you and your work that obviously you had a spa as a business and things like that, and you walk the talk, so your employees are actually delivering that customer service.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
So great. I think Den might have a few questions too. Let's see if he's got someone here.
Yeah, so my first simple question is customer service hard?
Dan, you're killing me. I'm looking at your bookshelf, and I don't see my book.
I don't know. Our guests usually send me a few copies.
I'll FedEx it to you tonight, so next time on the next interview you'll be.
Yeah, where's my coffee towel?
Yeah, you know, Dan, that's it. It's hard. It's very hard, and so that's a great question. There's a book. One of my favorite books is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, and I believe this is, you know, goes with why customer service hasn't been important enough. Listen, it's important to everyone. They say it is, but why it's never has sticks. So the Slight Edge is, you know, the basic thesis of the Slight Edge is if you do or you don't, it really doesn't matter. And what it means is if you eat a donut at lunch, or you don't, right? You skip that donut and eat a salad. Really doesn't matter today. You're not going to look any different. You're not going to weigh any different, you know, tonight. If you save your 2% towards savings or retirement this week's paycheck, or you don't, your savings account's not going to look any different, right? If you train new employees on the soft skills, relationship building, service recovery, this month, the new employees, whatever, or your revenues aren't going to change. It's not going to look any different. Now, the compounding effect of making those right choices in 6 months, a year. So the big thing that customer service is there's no short-term return on investment. So companies have pressure from Wall Street, stakeholders, everyone to be more profitable. And so if we invest in customer service, we're not going to see that for 3, 6, 12, 18 months. So what do? We slash prices to generate more sales. We acquire competition or new markets, and that does appease people in the short term. But we give you more trouble now in 6 months because of those decisions. Or we lay off, outsource our call center to a third world country. We lay off, tens of thousands of people, and all those things will help, the short term. But as you guys know, nothing helps long term except for if you create that customer experience and you build that engine. But it is so frustrating because of the return on investment length.
Yeah, absolutely. I work as an executive coach now, but in 2008, 2009, I was working in the financial services industry. And so I would see employees who, because of downsizing, they were having to do the work of 2 people, and they were just overwhelmed. And they also felt very unappreciated. And so when a customer would call and they would answer that call, they saw that as an intrusion to their work and an interruption. They did not see it as an opportunity, and they were short with the client. They were short in the way they answered the phone and dealt with whatever the customers. So that their feeling of they themselves feeling unappreciated. I'm sure that the customer on the other end of the phone also felt unappreciated whenever they called in. So it's
Right.
sort of a trickle down of, as you were saying, if the employee doesn't feel valued and appreciated, they're not going to express that to the customers on the phone.
Yeah, you absolutely said it. And it's not the employee's fault. Absolutely, it's not the employee's fault.
Right.
So John, this is kind of a good segue for my next question is, should customer service be delegated? The training aspect of it in many years have been delegated to the training or the HR department. Give me your take on it, because I know you talk about it in the book, but how, to me, it's very important because some people in a leadership role, unfortunately, do not get that. They immediately delegate this training, customer service training, and I know that we'll definitely tackle the service aptitude, but I want to ask you how important it is, because we've got some leaders who are watching the show, for them to lead by example rather than delegate customer service training.
So, all good questions, and I want to put them together here. Customer service starts at the top, right? And so all the world-class customer service companies, Walt Disney, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Ritz-Carlton, Virgin Airlines, go on, Zappos, you can see why. You can never see, read, watch an interview with, Richard Branson, Tony Hsieh, Howard Schultz, Walt Disney, and the topic could be on anything, and they always bring it back to the customer experience. They're OCD about it. So you can see why their companies are like that. But the problem is, we could talk about the biggest disciplines of any business, right? You have finance, you have operations, you have sales, you have HR, and you have customer service. All right, great. So who leads these departments? Well, you probably have a, depending on your size, a CFO, or until then you're outsourced to an accountant. Where did the CFO come from? Well, he had a degree in accounting, finance. You have a, operations. He probably graduated with a labor, a management degree. Sales, they graduated a sales and marketing degree. IT degree. Well, the one thing we don't have is a leader of customer experience. Right? I'm not talking about the person in charge of the call center, but the entire customer experience. And if and when we do, there's not even a class, let alone a minor, a major, in customer service in college. I mean, this is a problem. So the fastest growing C-suite position in corporate America today is the CXO or the CCO, Chief Customer Officer, Chief Experience Officer, because finally the companies are waking up saying, we need someone to sit at this table, with the CEO and president that pounds their hands on the table and say, hold on, guys, how is that going to affect the customer experience, right? This new technology, this new software, this new product, new whatever, that makes sense, this new policy, but what about the customer experience? And that's critical. And so to your question, if we delegate it to HR, ask yourself this, leaders that are watching this. Of the training we give new employees, before they're allowed to interact with a client, guest, patient, tenant, whatever we call them, how much is technical? Here's how we process orders, ring up orders, product knowledge, all that. Make our burgers. I don't care what it is. And how much is a soft skill? Building the relationship, doing service recovery. Typically, it's barely none of the soft skill training, and that's and especially if it falls on HR or chief marketing officer, they got a lot on their plate, and that's going to be the last thing on their plate. And we always know the last thing on their plate usually gets very little, if any, attention.
And one of the I like how you said that, because I know I think it was either Amazon and a Southwest airline, Herb Kelleher, that every time they had a meeting that impacted the company, there was this invisible chair, which would be the customer.
Yeah. Yes, it's so, Amazon. Amazon does that. I love that. I'm sorry, finish it because people need to hear what it is.
No, and I think that was kind of the example in both Amazon and Herb Kelleher, who put that invisible chair in the boardroom, and that is the voice of the customer. And it's kind of like what you were saying, is being the advocate of the customer, because at the end of the day, probably 80% of the decisions are impacting any type of business, whether you have vendors, employees, and customers. I always say everybody has at least one customer they're working with. So having that invitation, that invisible invitation to the table, and I want to add this because this is really important. The invitation is actually done by the customer feedback. The customer gives you feedback every day, and that is part of their invitation. So whether they're in the boardroom or not, they're going to give you feedback, and that's how it impacts your decisions. Because I know this, being in the hotel business, some of the decisions that were impacted the hotel business were because of the customer feedback. So there's a voice of the customer here, as you know.
So Tal, if we could, I love the idea of the empty chair, representing the customer, but I like John's idea even better. So if we can have a customer experience officer actually sitting in that chair and pounding on the table saying, how is this going to affect our customers, even so much more the better.
Yeah, and this is what kind of John is bringing to the point, is that these CEO of the companies, such as Tony Hsieh and the companies, they were the one that pounding the table and saying, hey, look, the customer is really important to me, and I want to involve the customer in every decision. And that's what distinguishes people that are leaders in those companies that are the world-class customer service. John, talk to us, and I know this is the core of your philosophy, that really, when you're going around and talking about customer experience, world-class, is the customer service or service aptitude. And there's a cliche out there that people say service is an attitude, but now you say service is an aptitude.
Yeah, so that really is, the thesis of everything, we work. So how good any company, any department, location, whatever we call its customer service level comes down to one thing and one thing only: their service aptitude. From the CEO to the janitor to the employee that's going to be starting next week going through orientation. Now, the key here with service aptitude is no one had it. No one's born with it. Tal, Dan, me, Walt Disney. We didn't have it. It comes from three primary places. The first place is our previous life experiences. So, most people, almost everyone, don't grow up staying at five-star resorts on a regular basis, driving Mercedes-Benz at 16, flying first class, and getting $150 haircuts. Yet, what do we all do? We hire people, and and the golden rule, right? Everyone with the golden rule, and I love the golden rule as a personal philosophy, but it is a horrible compass as a customer service philosophy. Telling frontline employees to treat customers they want to be treated is a big mistake, right? I have a 22-year-old son. He's a junior at Ohio State. Great kid. If you hired him tomorrow and had him answer the phones or greet customers, you said, Johnny, I want you to treat our customer the way you want to be treated. Oh my God, right? He'd say, "What's up, dude?" He'd offer the fist pump. You'd have to ask him up his jeans because they're sagging, and that's what Johnny's used to, right? That's the circle he's running in. However, you give him 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever of training. This is how we greet customers. He would be a rock star, right? So I don't want so the first place is service aptitude gets shaped as previous life experience. We can't control that, who we're hiring. The second place is previous work experiences. Every one of us, everyone listening, every one of our employees, every one of our future employees have worked somewhere else. And if we're not hiring directly from Nordstrom's, Ritz-Carlton, Chick-fil-A, they've probably worked for a company or several companies that weren't world-class. And which means that they probably worked for a manager that was more suspicious and paranoid and said, "Look, young Dan, it's your job not to let people take advantage of us." And Dan says, "Okay, I won't." and Dan's doing what he's told, right? You come to work for me, and I'm like, whoa, no. I want you to be, naive. Don't punish 90% of the customers for what we're afraid 2% are going to try to get away with. That's not the employee's fault either. So those first two places we can't control. Now we can control the third place, which is current work experiences. And that's the third and final place service aptitude gets shaped. And again, you cannot look at any company's website or their orientation manual where it doesn't say how important customer service is. But go back to the acid test of the hours we put training people into, preparing them for their job, how many hours, whether it's 10 hours, 30, 50, of those hours, how many of it is soft skill versus hard skill? And typically it's next to nothing, all hard skill. And we're setting people up for failure. And that's why it's not fair when I'm upset. I can't believe, how she handled it. Well, she didn't know, right? We need, so that's why we have service aptitude tests, scenarios that, say, all right, Tal, if a guest walks in and, this is a scenario, what would you do? And it's A, B, C, or D. And you'd be surprised how many people, don't get the answer right. And initially I thought, right, well, how could you get the answer wrong? I'm providing you with it, right? B is obviously the best of the three choices. But, they wouldn't pick B. And I'd say, why didn't you pick B? And they'd say, because I would have gotten in trouble. I would have gotten fired for doing B at my last job. And we'd say, no. Here, we want you to do B. So, it's a culture. And one more thing, I know I'm going too long on this, but another big debate is what's more important to be in a world-class customer service company, the hiring you do or the culture and training you bring them in and put them into. And obviously the answer is both, right? I mean, they're both critical. But if you got to give 51%, too many people say hiring. And that's important. But do you really think Disney found 50,000 world-class employees, right? I don't think there's 50,000 people alive, And so what Disney does, and I love this, and Zappos does, and the Ritz-Carlton does, is they say they don't put people in Disney, they put Disney in people. And I love that.
I like that.
Because of us, we weren't world-class at one time. We didn't know better. And, we learned it.
One of the things I'm hearing, Tal, is that, customer service is not common sense. I think that's a mistake a lot of people make.
That's it.
Is they think, if we just say, just use your common sense in dealing with the customer and things will be all right. There really has to be intentional training because our common sense is generated by our life experiences and the environment and, as you said, past employment experiences that we've been through. So really a lot of it is training people to get over what they think is their common sense and learn a new way of treating customers.
Well, I always use it. Dan, you hit it. And to be honest, Tal, I think you wasted my time by having me on because I think Dan better.
I got the two of the best, so what else can I ask for,
But I always tell this one story. I have this niece, I think it's in the book, and, since she was 16, today she's like 25, I've always tried to get her to work at like one of my businesses. She's that cute, bubbly, energetic girl that we'd love in a customer-facing position. A couple years ago, she was over for the holidays, and, I asked her what she's doing, and working her way through college. Where are you working? At a restaurant. What do you do? Feed people, serve people. She goes, I also am responsible for policing the restrooms. I said, oh, that's great. I go, you got to have spotless restrooms in a restaurant. She goes, no, that's not what I mean. I said, what do you mean? She goes, it's my job not to let anyone use the restroom unless they've purchased something first. I'm like, oh, my God, this is my niece. She has the same last name as me, right? and so a lot of people would probably think, boy, was John wrong about his niece. No, my niece is actually too good of an employee. She works for someone who's paranoid and suspicious and says, listen, people are out to take advantage of us. It's your job not to let them. And she does what she's told. So now, one of the interviews, she meets all the criteria we're looking for, but we have to, unbrainwash her, because her common sense is now, at a different, place than, our common sense.
Tal, I've got to tell a story. My wife was just the other day telling me how she was in a dress shop, and she said, "Could I use your restroom?" And the lady said, "We don't have one." She says, "What?" She says, "Yes, we don't have one." She said, "Well, where do you go when you've got to go?" And the lady said, "Well, we've got one back here. I'm not supposed to let you use it, but come on, I'll let you do it." So same idea.
I kind of going back to the feedback, and actually, yes is the answer. What's the question, kind of thing. I think that's at Ritz-Carlton. One of their poster boards is yes is the answer. What's the question? So you always, I see so many companies that are kind of tied down by those. How do we say no to a customer? It's a rule. It's whatever it is. But I want to kind of go back to the point. I think when I really first started out my career in the hotel business. One of my general managers, which was a great mentor and an example, and I think we were talking about customer service, and he said, customer service begins at home. It's the grandmother kind of kindness and all these things that you grew up in, and hopefully a good home, good family, warm, kind family. That's where it really comes from. And when I thought, I didn't get it back then because I was too young, but then when I thought about it and what I do, I would think, I want to give great customer service to someone who gave it to me in not necessarily in an organization, but if my mother, for example, my mother always, if we have guests coming over to our house, there's always coffee, tea, whatever, something to drink, some pastry or something, always very welcoming, gracious host. And I think to myself, sometimes companies and organizations just kind of scratch their head, make things more complicated than it really is, but this is it right there. So anyway, just kind of feedback on the aptitude and everything, which is really critical, because I feel like with the hiring, someone can ace an interview, but they can put up a show, put up a face, say this is what I've done. You can ask the behavioral questions, but that's not good enough. You are working on your culture, and you want to make sure that people are understanding your expectations as a leader. And I think that's where some businesses missed the boat, as you were just alluded to as well.
No, I agree. And back to like your original point, I do believe you hire for attitude and train for aptitude, because if you're looking for people with high service aptitude, you're not going to find them. So my favorite quote that really puts us all in a bow is, it's not the employee's responsibility to have high service aptitude, it's the company's to teach it, train it to them. So, it's just like, would you ever let an assistant, do the accounting, because the CPA called in sick? No, she's not qualified. Why are we throwing our employees out there untrained and unqualified to build relationships and do all that?
Well, and it's a reflection on the company. When the customers are doing business with you, the first line of defense is your hourly employees. I mean, we have management and operation team at my hotel, but the customer doesn't always know them. We're pretty hands-on, so we are engaging with the customers. There's 3 operation managers, but the frontline employee is the face of the company, the hotel, whoever it is, and if they don't get that interaction really good, you can be the CEO of the company sitting back there in the office. So I always say the most important employee is not your CEO, but that person who's interacting with the customer. Yeah. So, but John, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful hangout, and I really appreciate it. I know you're going around the country speaking and just wearing that customer service on your sleeve. So I really, you're one of the top ones out there that I'll look up to and looking to get my career going and what you're doing as well. So thank you so much for your gracious time.
Thank you, both of you, and I've been researching you guys, and I really love what you guys are doing and what you're about, and how you're raising the bar for so many people in businesses. So, kudos to you guys.
Well, thank you. It's Dan and I have been involved with Lead with Giants for a while, and we try to add value, something we haven't talked about as much on the show, but to really add value, because the service we provide is service to the leaders in the community and people that we have. Dan, how many people do we have in our community so far?
Oh, we have about 2,000 members across the social media platforms right now, and that's growing every day. And and we have some that have really stepped up to the plate, providing leadership like yourself and others, which I love.
Well, you're going to get more, because I'm going to recommend and share and have my management team be a part of your community, because I really like what you guys are about and what you're doing.
Would love to have you as a co-host on one of our tweet chats sometime, John.
Anytime.
Great, John. And you and I will connect as well on some other things. So, guys, this has been a great show. Value added anytime you have John DeJulius. And I do want to mention also, this is not just a marketing employer theme here, but it's one of the best. And I read probably 3 books about customer service a week, so this is a must get. And I'll be sure to have Dan a copy as well, so he puts that on the shelf as well. So thanks, guys. It's been a great show. Let me stop it right here.